Supply Chain Management. Lesson 6, Enterprise Resource Planning Systems. To be discussed by Rubin, Salamanes, Saludez, Salvania, Santos, Sevial, Tagulinao, Tambilo, and Torculas.
My name is Nhelven Sevial, and this is my part of the Lesson 6 report, which is Enterprise Resource Planning Systems. If you are waste conscious, you already understand the time spent producing a part that will not be shipped out for some time. It is overproduction and waste resources. It's not just about profits, although that will always remain the ultimate goal for any enterprise. However, in today's supply chain, there is other factors in play. You might want to emphasize different production volumes and different profits margin for strategic reasons. Today, cost effectiveness and competitiveness are the strategic lever that executives are seeking to run their business with maximum flexibility. Hindi lamang ito tungkol sa kita, pero syempre hindi mawala yan. But in this present time, kailangan natin sa palakin yung kita natin at hindi lang tayo focus sa isang production or sa days. Kailangan natin mas lumawak yung isip tungkol sa production ngayon. This is the learning objective. After completing this chapter, you should be able to understand the chase level and mix aggregate production strategies. Malalaman natin the miskarte sa iba't ibang klase ng produksyon. Describe the hierarchical operation planning process in terms of material planning, APP, MPS, MRP, and capacity planning, RRP, CCP, CRP. Know how to compute available to promise quantities, MRP explosion and DRP explosion. Kung paano makakuha kung paano mo makalkula yung dami ng pagsabog ng MRP at DRP, syempre importante yun. And understand the limitation of legacy MRP systems and why organizations are migrating to integrate DRP systems. Unawain ng mga limitasyon ng mga ERP system. Describe ERP system and understand its advantage and disadvantage. Understand best of breed versus single integrator ERP implementations. Pinamad ng gawin sa ERP system ay kailangan syempre alam natin yung advantage at disadvantage nito. Introduction. Resource planning is the process of determining the production capacity required to meet demand in the context of resource planning. Capacity refers to the maximum workload that an organization is capable of completing a given period of time. A discrepancy between an organization's capacity and demand result is inefficiently either in underutilized resources or unfulfilled orders. The goal of resource planning is to minimize the discrepancy. One of the most critical activities of an organization is to efficiently balance the production plan with capacity. This directly affects how effectively the organization deploys its resources in producing goods and services, developing feasible operation schedules and capacity plans to meet delivery due dates and minimize waste in manufacturing or service organization is a complex problem. The need for better operation scheduling continues to challenge operation managers, especially in today's intensely competitive global marketplace in an environment fostering collaboration, buyer-supplier relationship. The challenge of scheduling operation to meet delivery due dates and eliminate waste is becoming more complex. The problem is compounded in an integrated supply chain where a missed due date or stock case is cascade downstream, magnifying the bullwhip effect and adversely affecting the entire supply chain. Operation managers are continuously involved in resource and operation planning to balance capacity and output. Capacity may be stated in terms of labor, material, or equipment with too much excess. Capacity production cost per unit is high due to idle works and machineries. However, if workers and machinery are stressed, quality level are likely to deteriorate. Firms generally run to their operation at about 85% while to allow the time for scheduled repairs and maintenance and to meet unexpected increase in demand. Ang resource planning ay napaka-importanting bagay sapagkat dito nagsisimula lahat. Hindi natin magagawa ang mga kung plano, kaya naman ang prosesong ito ay pinaka-importante sapagkat para matugunan natin ng pangangailangan. Ang kapasidad nito ay tumutukoy sa workload na kayang kumpletuhin ng isang organisasyon sa isang taktang panahon. Ang isang pagkakaiba sa pagitan ng kapasidad at demand ng isang organisasyon ay nagresulta ng kawalan ng kausayan. Ang isa sa pinaka-importante sa isang organisasyon ay kung paano nila mababalance ang produksyon at kung gaano ka-epektibo ang pag-deploy ng organisasyon ng pagkukunan nito sa paggawa ng mga produkto at serbisyo. At syempre, kailangan din yung mga schedules of possible operation na gagawin nila for them to meet the right date to minimize waste in manufacturing or service organization is a complex problem. This chapter describes the hierarchical operations planning process in terms of materials and capacity planning. A hypothetical industrial example is used to demonstrate the hierarchical planning process. This chapter also discusses the evolution of the manufacturing planning and control system from the material requirements planning, the enterprise resource plannings. Kaya naman po, itutuloy na ito nila para mas maintindihan natin.
Operations planning is usually hierarchical and can be divided into three broad categories: long range, intermediate or medium range, and short range planning horizons. Long range plans usually cover a year or more, tend to be general, and specify resources and outputs in terms of aggregate hours and units. These plans are established first and used to guide the medium-range plans. It is usually involve major strategic decisions in capacity, such as construction of new facilities and purchase a capital of equipment. Long-range plans ay nagiging saklaw ng isang taon o higit pa. Ito din ay pangkalahatan lalo na sa mga particular or tiyak na nagpapagkunan at mga output sa mga pinagsama-samang oras at unit. Kadalasan, napapabilang din ito sa mga pangunahing estratehikong decision sa mga capacity tulad ng pagtatayo ng mga bagong pasilidad at pagbili ng kapital at gamit. Gayunman, naghahanay din ito ng mga pangmatagalan layunin ng negosyo at pagbuo ng mga plano ng aksyon na maayon sa estratehikong plano. Medium-range plans normally span 6 to 18 months. It involves minor changes in capacity, such as changes in employment levels. Medium-range plan, ito ay karaniwang sumasaklaw sa 6 hanggang 18 buwan. Nagsasangkot din sa mga maliliit na pagbabago sa tulad ng pagbabago ng capacity at mga pagbabago sa antas ng trabaho. Gayunman, ito din ay pagpamplano sa pinagsasama sa mga elemento na parehong long-range planning at short-range planning. Ang mid-range planning ay idinisenyo para sa panahon ng agarang aksyon sa short-range planning at nagbibigay daan sa mga pangmatagalan na layunin. Short-range plans usually cover a few days to a few weeks depending on the type and size of the firm. Also, short-range plans are the most detailed and specify the exact end items and quantities to make on a weekly, daily, or hourly basis. Short-range planning ay karaniwang bumubuo ng isang tiyak na takdang panahon kung saan ang isang particular na serye ng operasyon ay isasagawa. Ito rin ay karaniwang sumasaklaw ng ilang araw hanggang ilang linggo depende sa uri at laki ng kumpanya. The aggregate production plan is a long-range materials plan. Since capacity expansion involves the construction of a new facility and major equipment purchases, the aggregate production plan's capacity is usually considered fixed during the planning horizon. The aggregate production plan sets the aggregate output rate, workforce size, utilization, and inventory and/or backlog levels for an entire facility. The aggregate production plan ay ang pinagsama-samang pagpaplano ng production ay nagbabahala sa pagpapasya ng mga antas ng production, inventory at lakas ng trabaho upang matugunan ang pabago-bagong mga kinakailangan sa demand. Ay tinatakda din ito ang pinagsama-samang plano sa production, ang pinagsama-samang rate ng output at laki ng manggagawa. The master production schedule is a medium-range plan is more detailed than the aggregate production plan. It shows the quantity and timing of the end items that will be produced. The master production schedule ay isang plano para sa individual na kalakal na gagawin sa bawat yugto ng panahon tulad ng production, staffing, inventory, etc. Isa din ito medium-range planning na mas detalyado kaysa sa pinagsama-samang plano sa production. Material requirements planning is a short-range materials plan. MRP is the detailed planning process for component parts to support the master production schedule. It is a system of converting the end times from the master production schedule into a set of time-based component part requirements. Material requirements planning ay isang detalyadong proseso ng pagpaplano para sa mga bahaging-bahagi upang suportahan ang master production schedule at isa din itong sistema sa pagkalkula ng mga materyales at sangkap na kailangan sa paggawa ng isang produkto. Distribution requirements planning describe the time-based net requirements from central supply warehouses and distribution center. It links production with distribution planning by providing aggregate time-based net requirements information to the master production schedule. Distribution requirements planning ay inuugnay nito ang production sa pagpaplano ng pamamalagi sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng pinagsama-samang impormasyon sa mga kinakailangan ng net. Ito din ay isang systematic proseso upang gawing mas efficient ang paghahatid ng mga kalakal sa pamamagitan ng pagtukoy ng produkto sa dami at inaasahang pangangailangan. The aggregate production planning is a hierarchical planning process that translates annual business plans and demand forecasts into production plan for all products. As shown in Figure 6.1, demand management includes determining the aggregate demand based on forecast of future demand, customer orders, special promotions, and safety stock requirement. This forecast of demand then sets the aggregate utilization, production rate, workforce level, and inventory balances are backlogs. Aggregate production plans are typically stated in terms of product families or groups. Ang mga pinagsama-samang pagpaplano ng production ay isang hierarchical planning o isang artificial intelligence na mayroong diskarte sa paglutas ng problema. Kaya nalaman na ipinapakita sa Figure 6.1 kung saan kasama sa pamamahala ng demand ang pagtukoy sa pinagsama-samang demand batay sa demand ng hinaharap at pinagsama-samang plano sa production ay karaniwang nakasaad sa tuntunin ng produkto. A production family consists of different products that share similar characteristics, components, or manufacturing processes. For example, an all-terrain vehicle or ATV manufacturer who produces both automatic and manual drive options may group the two different types of ATVs together, since the only difference between them is the drive option, production processes, and material requirements for the two ATVs can be expected to be very similar and can be grouped into a family. Production family ibinubuo na may katulad na katangian, bahagi o proseso ng manufacturing at pagtiyak ng sapat na raw materials at iba pang kailangang bagay ng pagtatapos nito sa pamagitan option at pagproseso ng production sa pagkakapareho at paggrupo ng mga materyales. The purchase production strategy adjusts capacity to match the demand pattern. Using this strategy, the firm will hire and lay off workers to match impact on the workers, and it assumes that workers can be hired and trained easily to perform the job. In this strategy, the finished goods inventories always remain constant, but the workforce fluctuates in response to the demand pattern. Figure 6.2 shows that the chase production curve perfectly overlaps on the demand curve. The inventory level remains constant at 100 units until December, when it increases by 40 units. Hiring, training, and termination costs are significant cost components in the chase production strategy. Chase production strategy ay tumutukoy sa paniwala na hinahabol ang demand na itinakda ng market. ito ay isang lean production strategy na nagtitipid sa paggastos hanggang mailagay ang demand. Gamit ang discarding ito, kukuha at tatanggalin ng kumpanya ang mga manggagawa upang itugma ang rate ng production nito sa demand. Peer level production strategy relies on a constant output rate and capacity while varying inventory and backlog levels to handle the fluctuating demand pattern. Using this strategy, the firm keeps its workforce levels constant and relies on fluctuating finished goods inventories and backlogs to meet demand. The firm allows finished goods inventions to accrue while cumulative demand remains less than cumulative production and then relies on a series of backlogs to handle the demand from August through November. Figure 6.3 shows that labor production is characterized by the fluctuating inventory or backlog level while the workforce and production capacity remain constant. Inventory, carrying, and stock-out cost are major cost components in the labor production strategy. Ang pure labor production strategy ay mga diskarte sa purong antas ay nababahala sa pagpapanatili ng lakas ng trabaho o mga rate ng output sa lahat ng oras habang nag-iiba ang mga antas ng inventory at backlog upang mahawakan ang pabago-bagong pattern ng demand. Ipinakita sa Figure 6.3 na ang antas ng production ay naiilarawan sa pabago-bagong antas ng inventory habang ang lakas ng trabaho at capacity ng production ay nananatiling pareho. Ang pagdala ng inventory ay mga pangunahing bahagi ng gastos sa antas ng diskarte sa production.
MRP keeps production moving. Material Requirement Planning or MRP is a software-based production planning and inventory control system that has been used widely by manufacturing firms for computing dependent demand and timing requirements. So, ibig sabihin nangyari to primarily through specialized software na sinusigurado na dapat yung in-inventory is available sa mangyayaring production sa eksaktong oras kung kailan ito kailangan sa pinakamababang halaga. So, how MRP works? MRP works by asking these three main questions. What is needed, how much is needed, when it is needed by. So, ibig sabihin, pinapabilis ng MRP system yung manufacturing production process sa pagtukoy kung ano ba yung mga kailangang raw materials, components, at mga sub-assemblies. Kung magkano ang halaga nito, tsaka kung kailan kailangan ito para ma-assemble yung finished goods base sa Demand and Bill of Materials o sa BOM. Yung mga sagot sa tatlong katanungang ito yung mga magbibigay linaw or kaliwanagan or assurance para sigurado na mapupulpil natin yung required demand na siyang makatutulong para ma-facilitate natin yung isang efficient and effective production schedule. Next are the MRP steps and processes. So there are 4. First is identifying requirements to meet demand. Second is checking inventory and allocating resources. Third is scheduling production. And the fourth is identifying issues and making recommendations. Dun muna tayo sa first step, which is identifying customer demand and the requirement needed to meet it. Dito, ibig sabihin, kailangan nating alamin kung ano ba yung kailangan ni customer or yung order niya, tsaka yung sales forecast. So, let's say, halimbawa, ang order ni customer is laptop. So, sa isang laptop, aalamin natin kung ano ba yung mga raw materials na kailangan dito, which is, halimbawa, is processor, monitor, at saka keyboard. Tapos, kung ano pa yung kailangan sa keyboard. Yun, sabay identifying yung mga raw materials, magagawa natin to using the BOM. Sa second step, ito ay kung saan which we will utilizing the MRP to check demand against inventory and allocating resources accordingly. You can see both what items you have in stock and where they are. This is especially important if you have inventory across several locations. Dito sa second step, ibig sabihin makikita natin lahat ng mga in-inventory natin. So, ibig sabihin dahil makikita natin, mache-check natin ito. Mache-check natin kung may kulang ba, may sobra. So, ma-update natin. And dito, malulocate din natin kung nasa na yung mga items na yon. So, let's move on to the third step. Sa third step, using the master production schedule, the system determines how much time and labor are required to complete each step of each build and when they need to happen so that the production can occur without delay. So, napaka-importante nung scheduling production dahil dito sa scheduling production, dito mag-estimate na ng date kung kailan dadating yung order para dun sa customer. So, ibig sabihin, kung ma-delay ito at hindi natin na-meet yung estimated date, dito, dissatisfied yung customer. So, ibig sabihin, magkakos ito ng low of production. So, it is napaka-importante ng scheduling of production. Then, finally, sa step 4, because the MRP link raw materials to work orders and customer orders, it can automatically alert your team when items are delayed and make recommendations for existing orders, automatically moving production in or out, performing what-if analysis, and generating exception plans to complete the required builds. So, dito naman sa fourth step, dito yung pag may nangyayaring mga cancellations or delaying ng orders. So, syempre, pag may nangyaring ganun, alamin natin kung ano yung mga naging issues, tapos gagawa tayo ng mga recommendations. Ibig sabihin, dito mo makikita kung naging efficient and effective ba yung production. For an MRP system to work efficiently, each input must be accurate and updated. Here are some inputs an MRP depends on. First is the demand. Demand including sales forecast and customer orders. When working with predicted demand, a system that integrated with an enterprise-wide ERP system allows forecasting using historical sales versus just sales forecast. So, yung demand, ibig sabihin ito yung order ni customer at saka yung sales forecast. And yung demand nahati sa dalawa, dependent demand and independent demand. Yung independent demand, ito yung finished product na or finished goods. Tapos yung dependent demand naman, ito yung mga bumubuo dun sa independent demand or dun sa product. Halimbawa dito sa all-terrain vehicle or ATV. Dito, yung makikita mo yung level 0 which is the finished good, yun yung all-terrain vehicle or ATV, yun yung independent demand. Tapos yung mga sangay-sangay nito, yung level 1 hanggang level 6, yun yung tinatawag na dependent demand. Yung engine assembly, hanggang engine block, yun hanggang dulo. Then next is the inventory. Well, actually, bill of materials dapat muna. Then inventory and master of production. Hinuli ko lang yung bill of materials kasi medyo mahaba siya. So, para isang paliwanagan, unahin na muna natin yung inventory. Sa inventory, it's essential to have a real-time view of inventory across the organization to understand what items you have on hand and which are en route or have purchase orders issued, where that the inventory is and what the inventory's status is. So, ibig sabihin dito sa inventory, dito nakalista yung mga items. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang yung finished products, pati yung mga raw materials ng finished product. Ibig sabihin, lahat, isa-isahin from part to part. Tapos dito sa inventory, dito makikita natin kung ilan yung dami ng raw materials, kung ilan yung saktong kailangan. Tsaka dito din natin makikita kung ano yung halaga nito or yung cost ng bawat raw materials. And also, dito makikita rin natin kung yung ano yung status ng inventory natin, kung ano nang lagay nito, kung nasa na ba ito. Then, next input na tayo, which is master production schedule. Dito, it takes all build requirements and plans machinery usage, labor, and workstations to account for all outstanding work orders to be completed. So, ibig sabihin, sa madaling salita, yung master production schedule, dito na mag-estimate nung eksaktong date kung kailan darating yung product, or dito i-estimate or i-specify yung timing kung kailan dadating or mapuproduce yung product, yung eksaktong date. Then, let's move on to the bill of materials. So, the bill of materials or BOM is an engineering document that shows an inclusive listing of all component parts and sub-assemblies making up the end item. BOMs are hierarchical in nature. In the manufacturing cycle, BOMs are like blueprints to your finished products and hence the most important document in any manufacturing or material requirements planning MRP cycle. So, ibig sabihin sa madaling salita, yung bill of materials or BOM is a recipe for manufacturing an item. Ngayon, mag-isip kayo ng paborito nyong pagkain or recipe ng pagkain. Halimbawa na lang is spaghetti, graham, or let's say cake. And then sa lahat ng mga pagkain na nabanggit ko, 'di ba? Hindi naman 'yan ganyan na agad-agad, 'di ba? May recipe na sinunod para yan ma-produce yung finished product na ganyan. So ibig sabihin para mabuo yung product, kailangan nating alamin yung ingredients and procedure. Sa ingredients kailangan alam natin yung eksaktong amount, yung accurate na dami o kailangan na ingredients. Why? Kasi 'di ba, once na mamali tayo, once na sumobra or kumulang, hindi na natin makukuha yung gusto nating product or yung kung ano ba dapat yung maging lasa nito. Halimbawa na lang is kunwari nag-bake ka, tapos sa pag-bake mo, nakalimutan mong ilagay yung baking powder or yung yeast. So, anong mangyayari doon sa product mo? So, hindi siya aalsa, hindi umalsa yung cake mo. So, sa tingin mo, magugustuhan mo yung resulta nito. So, parang ganun din sa BOM. Dito nakalista lahat ng eksaktong quantities o dami ng raw materials, sub-assemblies, item types, steps, at saka kung ano pa yung mga kasamahan nung or bumubuo dun sa isang finished product.
Next is the different types of BOMs. So, there are 10. First is the Manufacturing Bill of Materials or MBOM. Ito yung most common type of BOM for manufacturing company. It is used when a business needs to show all the parts and assemblies to build a finished product. Ibig sabihin, dito sa MBOM, dito nakadepende yung accuracy or yung eksaktong quantities ng mga parts na i-orderin mo, yung dami nito. Dahil dito, tinutulungan nitong ma-ensure ang purchasing department na ma-maintain yung optimal schedule for ordering the necessary parts. Kasi 'di ba, one of the cause of delaying orders is that hindi agad nabuo yung product. So, on the reason why hindi ito nabuo is kulang yung parts or may nawawala. And the next type of BOMs or Bill of Materials is Engineering Bill of Materials or EBOM. The engineering bill of materials is developed during the product design phase and is often based on computer-aided design or electronic design automation tools. So, ibig sabihin dito naman sa EBOM, dito mo makikita yung mga design ng bawat items, parts, components, sub-assemblies, and assemblies nung product designed by the engineering team. So, next is the service BOM. The service BOM is often developed by engineers during the design phase. So, dito naman kabilang sa service BOM yung list of all the parts ng product, nung installation steps, at saka yung repair instruction service technicians na ginagamit sa installing or servicing sa product on-site at the customer's place of a business. So, ibig sabihin, dito natin makikita yung how to install or paano buuin yung isang product. Ito yung magiging guide. Yan. Next is the sales BOMs. Dito naman, hindi katulad ng ibang types ng BOMs, yung sales BOMs, pinoprovide niya na yung details ng finished product bago yung assembly nito during the sales phase. Tapos sa sales BOM, both nung finished product at saka nung mga components or mga parts nito ay nag-a-appear as separate items in sales order document. So magkahiwalay. Tapos yung parent item will be listed on sales items, hindi sa inventory item. Tapos yung children will be listed as sub-items. Ano yung parent at children's na sinasabi ko? Yung parent, diba, yung BOM, sinabi ko nung una doon sa definition na ito ay hierarchical. Yung parent, yun yung nasa pinakantuktok or yung siya yung finished product. Tapos yung ano naman, yung children, yun yung bumubuo yung mga parts nun. Pero pwede rin maging parent yung hindi lang yung pinakang nasa tuktok, pati din yung nasa yung kasunod na nung magiging parent siya nung kasunod na nasa baba. Next type na tayo, which is assembly BOM or assembly BOM. Dito naman sa assembly BOM, parang ano lang din siya, parang sales BOM. Yung parent item niya nakalista sa sales item, hindi sa inventory item. Kaso nga lang, may kaabihan rin sila. Dito, yung finished product lang yung mag-a-appear sa sales document. Pero yung children, hindi yun mag-a-appear as sub-items katulad nung sales BOM. Yun yung kaibahin nila. Tapos, dito sa assembly BOMs, it can be either single level or multi-level, which I will explain to later. Next types of BOMs is the production BOM or production BOM. Dito naman sa production BOM, it often serves as the foundation for a production order. Dito nakalista yung components at saka sub-assemblies ng finished product. Tsaka yung mga price nito, yung description, yung quantities, at saka yung associated units of measure. Ibig sabihin, sa madaling salita dito sa production BOM, dito bubuuhin yung product. With a fully automated BOM system, components needs, costs, and materials available can be automatically added to work orders, thus ensuring the raw materials are properly allocated to products. So, unlike manual, dito, mas madali kasi automated na siya. Dito, mas madali mong makikita kung may kulang ba yung cost nito at saka kung naka-allocate ba ito ng tama. So, sa madaling salita, mas madali talaga dito sa production BOM. Lalo na kung nasa malaking manufacturing production ka, dito mas mapapabilis yun at mai-ensure mo pa na walang delays na magaganap at mai-ensure mo din yung efficient and effective production mo.
Then, the next type of BOM or BOMs is the template BOM. A template BOM is a highly flexible form of BOM that can be used for either production or sales BOM, usually with the parents' items displayed first and then the components below. So, from the term template, ibig sabihin it is something that establishes or serves as a pattern. So, parang ito yung BOM na tapos na pwede natin gamitin para maging guide sa paggagawa ng bagong BOM. So dito, mas mapapadali yung paggagawa ng BOM kasi pwede mo na lang ditong i-update yung quantity ng bawat components, i-swap, i-replace, or i-delete yung bawat component sa BOM or sa sales order. And the next type is configurable BOM or CBOM. Dito sa configurable BOM, it contains all the components required to design and manufacture material to a customer's specific requirement. Madalas ginagamit ito ng mga industries na may malalaking configurable products. Halimbawa ay yung mga job shops, heavy machinery, and industrial machinery. Tapos ginagamit din yung CBOMs to dynamically create end items that a company sells. Tapos yung benefit dito is that mababawasan yung effort na kailangan mo para ma-maintain yung product structures. Why? Kasi itong type na ito, it is frequently driven na by configurator software. So talagang madali na kasi nakaset up na siya for operation. However, pwede rin naman siya gamitin manually. The ninth type is the single-level bombs. Dito, it is typically used for the products whose constructions are not complex and do not include sub-assemblies. Siyempre, diba, just the way it sounds, a single-level bomb. So, ibig sabihin, meron lang siyang one level of raw materials. So, dahil single-level lang siya, the structure of this type of document only allows for one level of children in components, assemblies, and materials. Halimbawa dito sa all-terrain vehicle, yung single level bombs, hanggang dun lang siya sa level 1, hindi nakasama yung level 2 hanggang level 6. So, ganun siya kasi the manufactured item is simpler and not composed of multiple group of units. Then, the last type na is the multi-level bombs, diba? Remember, I said BOMs or bombs are hierarchical in nature. So, this brings us the concept called multi-level bombs. Kung dun sa single level is simpler, dito naman is complex. Dito, ito na mismo yung halimbawa niya. Kung dun sa single level hanggang level 1 lang, dito kahit hanggang level 6. Simula dun sa finished goods, tapos kung ano pa yung mga kailangan dun, basta dito ihimay-himayin dito lahat ng mga sub-assembly materials na kailangan. So, mahirap siya but detalyado, mas maganda kaysa sa single level. So, proceed tayo sa MRP outputs. First is the planned order receipt. So, dito, ito yung ginawa mong outline of the quantity and timing of future material orders. So, based dun sa in-inventory, dito mo na i-compute yung net requirement ng final product and component. And next is the planned order releases. Dito sa planned order releases, it authorized orders to be made. Ito yung pinaka-importanting MRP outputs. So, dito, kailangan ma-ensure natin, as much as possible, kailangan ma-deliver natin yung mga orders sa in-specify na date, time, and locations. Tapos dito sa planned order releases, yung mga items na naka-manufactured in-house, nakaplan siyang i-release or i-transmit sa shop floor. Pero yung mga purchase items naman, nakaplan siyang i-transmit directly na sa suppliers or pwede rin sa purchasing department. The last output of MRP is the order scheduling. Dito sa order scheduling, ito yung cancellations or revisions of the quantity or time frame. So, kaya i-resched na bago yung quantity ng order. Pwedeng nag-increase, pwedeng nag-decrease. Or some reason maybe expedite required date or na-delayed or pwede rin talagang kinancel yung order. Then, let's proceed to the terms used in material requirement planning. First is the parent. It is the item generating the demand for lower level components. Level 0 is the final product. It is the parent of all level 1 components. Similarly, each level 1 item becomes the parent of the level 2 components used to make that item. Halimbawa dito sa all-terrain vehicle na finished product which is yung level 0 na nasa tuktok. Ito yung parent nung nasa level 1 which is yung engine assembly, chassis, suspension and brake, exhaust and fuel system, transmission, body and accessories. Yan yung mga parent ay yung all-terrain vehicle or yung nandun sa level 0. Pero yung level 1, pwede rin siyang maging parent. Kung meron pa silang level 2. So, kagaya dito, yung engine assembly, meron pang nasa level 2 which is yung engine block, cylinder head, piston assembly, crankshaft, camshaft, seals, and gasket. So, yung mga yan, parent naman nila yung engine assembly which is yung nasa taas nila. Then, ganun din sa kasunod, kung ano yung nasa taas nila, yun yung parent nila. Next term is the explosion. Ito naman yung common term used to describe the process converting a parent item's planned order releases into component gross requirement. So, ibig sabihin dito, gagamitin dito yung BOM or Bill of Materials. Kasi dito, ililista yung kung ilan ba yung components na kailangan. So, tinawag siyang explosion kasi yung given number of finished product is exploded to see how many items are required at the final assembly stage. Next is the time bucket. It is the time period used in the MRP. It is usually expressed in days or weeks. The current period is the action time bucket. So, ibig sabihin dito sa time bucket, ito ay kung saan kagagawa or bubuo ng schedule which is typically daily or weekly. And next is the components. Yung components naman, ito yung parts demanded by a parent. So, ibig sabihin ito yung bumubuo doon or yung parts nito. Halimbawa dito yung piston assembly, di ba makikita na nasa sangay siya ng engine assembly? So, ibig sabihin, yung piston assembly is component ng engine assembly. Next naman is planning factor. Yung planning factor, ito yung number of components needed to produce 1 unit of the parent item. Bawa dito sa piston assembly, nasa baba niya is piston sub-assembly. So, ibig sabihin, para makabuo ka ng isang piston assembly, kailangan mo ng 4 na piston sub-assemblies. Tapos, para ka makabuo ng isang piston sub-assemblies, kailangan mo naman ng 3 piston rings. And also, kailangan din ng isang piston. So, ganun lang siya. The next term is the pegging. Pegging relates gross requirements for a component to the planned order releases that created the requirements. So, ibig sabihin dito, ito yung nagpapakita ng relationship between the demand and supply. So, ibig sabihin yung supply nakadepende sa kabuuang pangangailangan. Kung marami yung nagde-demand, so, ang tendency, mag-supply pa ng mag-supply. The next is the lot size. Diba? Based on the requirements of product, MRP refers to the net requirements of parts of materials. Pero, yung requirements na yun, without any change, may be unsuitable for placing an order or manufacturing. So, yung lot sizing, ang gagawin niya is, pag-iisahin niya na yung calculated net requirements. Then, yung lot size may be determined by various lot sizing techniques such as EQQ at saka LFL. Yung EQQ, yun yung tinatawag na a fixed order quantity. Tapos yung isa naman is LFL, which is lot for lot, which means order whatever amount is needed each period. So halimbawa, a lot size of 50 calls for orders to be placed in multiples of 50. With the net requirements of 85 units, tapos ang ginamit natin is yung lot for lot, or LFL, order sizing will result in order of 85 units. Kasi yun yung kailangan. Samantalang bagay ang ginamit naman natin ay halimbawa is 100 units na ipe-place sa fixed order quantity or doon sa EQQ. Ang mangyayari dyan, magiging 50 lang siya. Why? Kasi nga fixed order quantity na siya, meron lang namang 50 calls for order. So, kahit 100 units yung kailangan, kung nakafix na sa 50, 50 lang yung may ibigay. So, yun yung kaibahan ng dalawa. The next term is safety stock. Yung safety stock, it protects against uncertainties in demand, supply, quality, and lead time. Halimbawa is late may deliver ng supplier yung product nila. So, the warehouse may be on strike or a number of items may be of poor quality. So, sa kabilang banda, yung mga competitor, masasold out nila yung product nila, which is increasing demand. Ibig sabihin, yung safety stocks, it enables organization to satisfy customers' demand in the event of these possibilities. Next term is gross requirement. Gross requirement, it is a time-based requirement prior to the considering on-hand inventory and lead time to obtain the item. Madaling salita, ibig sabihin ito yung kabuuang pangangailangan. Ito nakalagay yung mga item from the finished products hanggang dun sa mga components nito, sub-assemblies, yung mga parts. And because of that, the gross requirement is satisfied from inventory and production. So, dapat may ensure natin na yung quantity is exacto dun sa kung ano yung kailangan, kung ilan yung kailangan. Then, next is the net requirements. Tapos yung net requirement, ito yung requirement para sa isang item base sa gross requirement dito from forecast, customer orders, or upper level demand. And minus stock already on hand and scheduled receipts. Na tayo which is plan order release. Explain ko na to kanina which is sabi ko is kung yung specific order is i-release sa shop, yun yung component is made in-house. Tapos bagay naman yung sa supplier, yun naman yung component which is purchase. So, a key consideration here is that the plan order releases of the parent translate into gross requirement of the components. Next term na tayo which is projected on-hand inventory. Dito, it equals the beginning inventory minus the gross requirement plus the scheduled receipt and any planned receipt from an earlier planned order release. So, sa madaling salita, yung projected on-hand inventory, ito yung expected ending inventory. Next is firm planned order. Ito yung planned order that the MRP software logic system cannot automatically change when conditions change. So, yung primary purpose ng firm planned order is to prevent system nervousness because this represents a planned replenishment that is firm, and this allows the planner to stabilize portions of the MRP without creating discrete jobs or purchase requisitions. And then the last term is the low-level coding. Dito, it assigns the lowest level on the bill of materials to all common components to avoid duplicate MRP computations. Halimbawa dito sa all-terrain vehicle, diba dito, pinapakita yung 24-inch solid steel bar is a common component that appears in level 4 and level 6. Ayun, makikita mo dito sa level 4, tsaka ito rin sa level 6. So, imbes na i-compute yung planned order releases nung level 4 at level 6 na magkahiwalay, so, ang mangyayari, a low-level code of 6 is assigned to the item. So, nandun na lahat sa level 6. Then, the MRP explosion logic is performed at level 6 only. So, yan yung mga terms used in material requirement planning. And this new generation na bago na yung tawag sa MRP system. Hindi na siya MRP which is ERP na which is Enterprise Resource Planning System. And last I will discuss is all about the level 0 MRP computation based on the Model A ATB. So, yung production schedule for ATB Corporation is used to illustrate the MRP logic. So, dito pinapakita ng inventory status na yung 30 units ng Model A are available at the start of the year. Dito sa first row sa table na to, pinapakita yung planning horizon for the 8 weeks in January and February. Ito. Yan. Yung gross requirement dyan is inobtained from the master production schedule dun sa table 6.4, which ito. And the scheduled receipt of 10 units in week 2 is due to an order placed last week or earlier but is scheduled to be delivered on week 2. Kaya dito siya sa week 2 nakalagay, diba? Ayan. Tapos dito ito yung given na lot sizes, yung 10, tapos yung lead time is yung 2, tapos yung safety stock is 15. Ito. Yan. Then next is the projected on-hand inventory. Dito nasabi ko na kanina yung kung paano tukuhain yung formula, which is the beginning inventory, ima-minus dun sa gross requirement, tapos plus yung scheduled receipt, tapos yun na yung projected on-hand inventory. Pero dito sa week 1, ang ginawa dito is yung 30 units na beginning inventory, which is ito, minus niya dun sa gross requirement natin, kaya naging 20. Next naman is sa week 2. Sa week 2, diba yung previous na is 20. Tapos plus the scheduled receipt, which is 10, di equals 30 na. Tapos minus yung gross requirement na itong 10, kaya 20 pa rin. During naman sa third week, additional model A, ATVs, must be received to ensure the on-hand balance is above the safety stock level, which is ito, 15. So, dapat above daw. So, since the opening inventory of 20 units is consumed to meet the gross requirement, the net requirement here is 15 units. Kasi diba, given na yung orders must be multiples of 10, so 20 units dapat yung ma-order sa first week para masatisfy both yung lead time at saka safety stock requirements. So, sa madaling salita, kung 20 units yung kailangan sa third week, so yung 2-week lead time kailangang ma-order to be placed 2 weeks earlier. Kaya merong planned order release na 20 units dito sa first week. Ito. And so on, ganun din kwentahin yung mga sumunod na weeks.
The mixed production strategy. Tumutukoy ito sa isang strategy na pwedeng gawin ng isang company para ma-produce yung demand product na kakailanganin for this week or in every month. Nabanggit naman yung iba't ibang klase ng strategy gaya ng chase production strategy at level production strategy na pwedeng gawin ng isang company individually. Pero pag sinabi mong mixed production strategy, maaari mo silang sabay gawin para yung workforce or yung pag-produce ng product ay hindi ma-delay. Mixed production strategy, madalas siyang ginagamit ng company kapag mataas yung product demand. Ito yung halimbawa ng product plan na ginamitan ng mixed strategy. Kung mapapansin nyo, sa pagtaas ng demand, tumataas din yung product na kailangan i-produce at para gawin yon, nag-hire sila ng mga tao na pwedeng mag-part-time o kaya naman ay nag-overtime. Master production scheduling. Tumutukoy ito sa plan for product or unit or other commodities na kailangan i-produce sa isang firm with a given time. With the use of MPS or Master Production Schedule, makikita natin kung gaano ba karami ang demand sa isang particular product at kailan ito kailangan at anong klaseng product ang kailangan i-produce. Dito nga sa table 6.4, makikita natin kung paano ginagamit ng MPS yung model A, V, and C. Tumutukoy sa particular product and APV quantity kung gaano karami ang kailangan gawin ng isang firm. So dito nga sa example, ATV needed to produce 120 units for the whole month of January. Yung 120 na yun ay hinati according sa anong klaseng product at kailan ito kailangan i-produce na makikita natin sa MPS quantity or dun nga sa model A, V, and C. Master Production Schedule Time Fence. The Master Production Schedule is the production quantity required to meet demand from all sources and is the basis for computing the requirements of all time pays and end items. The Material Requirements Plan uses the MPS to compute component part and sub-assembly requirements. Frequent changes to the MPS can be costly and may create system nervousness. So, yung Master Production Schedule Time Fence nga ay tumutukoy nga ito dun sa dami ng product na kailangan i-produce na nagmi-meet dun sa demand ng customer. System nervousness can be defined as a situation wherein a small change in the upper level production plan causes a major change in the lower level production plan. Sa system nervousness nga sinasabi na kapag may pagbabago pagdating sa production plan sa upper level, naapektuhan nito yung mga plano na kailangan isagawa in the lower level. Halimbawa, si product A and B. Sa pag-produce kay product A and B ay may schedule ng nakalaan. Pero nagkaroon ng changes kay product A dahil sa pagtaas ng demand dito. So, possible na maapektuhan yung schedule ng pag-produce ni product B at magkaroon ng delay dahil sa changes na nangyari kay product A. Sinasabi rin na nervous system can create serious problems for manufacturing firm. Gaya na lang nga ng biglaang pagtaas ng demand sa isang product, napipilitan yung isang firm na i-revise yung purchase orders, component assembly orders, and end item production orders, and also cause ripple effect of chain within the firm and its supply chain to its supplier and miss delivery due date. But to deal with this problem, firms can use a time fence system. Time fence system, ito yung guideline na nilalagay natin to note kung saang part sa operation procedure yung nabago o may pagbabago. Isa pa sa purpose nito ay kinokontrol nito yung production sa isang firm. Ang time fence system ay nahati sa dalawa, ang firm and tentative segment. Firm segment, also known as demand time fence, dito kung ano o ilan lang yung demanded product ay yun lang ang ipiproduce ng isang firm, o kumbaga kung ano lang yung actual number ng units na nakalagay sa MPS, yun lang yung susundin mo at hindi mo isasama sa production yung mga changes within MPS. Pero na lang nga kung may pahintulot ito ng senior management o yung may pinakamataas na posisyon sa isang firm. Tentative segment, also known as planning time fence, sinasabi dito na yung master scheduler or person within MPS has a power to change the production to meet changing conditions or changes between quantity demanded sa kanilang product. And sa planning time fence, computer can schedule the MPS quantities or yung changes nga sa unit demanded ng product based na rin sa demanded orders. Available to promise quantities. Tumutukoy ito sa pag-response ng isang firm sa additional order ng customer na binibase naman ng firm sa available resources or product na meron sila sa kanilang inventory. Halimbawa, based sa MPS ng isang firm, they can produce 100 units of product by this week. Pero yung total customers order natin for this week ay 80 units lang. So, sa 100 unit na na-produce natin at 80 units of customers order ay may natira tayong 20 units of product available to promise. Sa another week, nagkaroon tayo ng changes sa customers order. Mayroon tayong customers order na 120 units. Ang kaso lang, 120 units lang ang pwede nating i-produce. Pero since may natira tayong 20 units available to promise from last week, yun yung gagamitin natin para ma-fulfill yung additional customers order. Dito sa table 6.5, makikita natin kung paano yung discrete available to promise calculation. And these are the steps in calculating discrete available to promise. First, the ATP for the first period is the sum of the beginning inventory and the MPS minus the sum of all committed customer orders from period 1 up to but not including the period of the next scheduled MPS. For all subsequent periods, there are two possibilities. If no MPS has been scheduled for the period, the ATP is 0. If an MPS has been scheduled for the period, the ATP is the MPS quantity minus the sum of all the CCOs from that period up to but not including the period of the next scheduled MPS. If an ATP for any period is negative, the deficit must be subtracted from the most recent positive ATP and the quantities must be revised to reflect these changes. Dito naman sa model A, B, at C ay makikita natin kung paano nakuha yung discrete available to promise. At para magbigay ng example, kukunin ko si model B bilang example para makuha yung discrete available to promise at para mas maunawaan natin kung ano nga ba yung available to promise. Para mas maunawaan natin kung ano nga ba ang available to promise at paano siya computein, kinuha kong example si model B. Lahat na nakalagay dito ay makikita natin sa table 6.5. Kinuha ko lang itong model B para mas maunawaan natin kung paano kinukuha ang available to promise using discrete method. So una, kuhain muna natin yung ATP for week 1. Para dyan, pagplasin lang natin si basic inventory at si master production schedule for week 1 and tsaka natin mamainasin si committed customer order week 1. Basic inventory 30 plus master production schedule for week 1 is 10 minus committed customer order for week 1, 20. So 30 plus 10 is 40 minus 20 is equals to 20. So for our week 1, we have 20 ATP unit. Pero kung makikita natin dito sa table, ay 13 lang yung nakalagay. So magpo-proceed tayo sa number 2 muna. For number 2, sa pagkuha sa available to promise for week 2, same procedure lang siya, mawawala lang yung basic inventory natin at madadagdag laang si committed customer order for week 3 dahil kung mapapansin nyo dito, wala tayong schedule for production. So, kunin natin si MPS 2 which is 10 minus committed customer order for week 2, 10 and committed customer order for week 3, 7. So, 10 minus 10 minus 7 is equals to negative 7. Dito, nagkaroon tayo ng utang. So, paano nga ba natin babayaran yung utang na yan para ma-fulfill natin yung customer order? Para dyan, since meron nga tayong available to promise na 20 from week 1, yun yung gagamitin natin para ma-fulfill natin yung committed customer order for week 3. So, kinuha natin si ATP for week 1 na 20 minus 7 is equals to 13. So, yung ATP natin for week 1 ay magiging 13 na lang. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, 13 yung nakalagay dito. And for ATP 3, negative 7 plus 7 na kinuha natin dito sa ATP for week 1 ay mawawala na tayo ng utang dun sa ay na-fulfill na natin yung committed customer order for week 3. So dito ATP 3 is equals to 0 and no scheduled MPS dahil wala nga tayong schedule dito ng master production. Ngayon, proceed naman tayo sa week 4. ATP4 or sa pagkuha ng available to promise for week 4, same procedure lang din. And kung mapapansin nyo, nandito rin yung committed customer order for week 5 kasi kung mapapansin nyo, wala rin ditong schedule for production. So, kunin natin yung MPS4 which is 20 and committed customer order for week 4, 0 and committed customer order for week 5, 0. So, 20 minus 0 is equals to 20. Sa week 4, mayroon tayong available to promise na 20 units. Pero kung mapapansin nyo, 2 lang din yung nakalagay dito. So, mag-proceed tayo para malaman natin kung bakit 2 lang yun nandito. So, ATP 5, no, 0 ATP and no scheduled for MPS. ATP for week 6. For ATP for week 6, kunin lang natin si MPS 6 which is 20 minus customer committed order 20 and committed customer order na for week 7 na 18 dahil wala rin ditong schedule for production. So, isasama natin siya dun sa ATP 6 dun sa recent na na may MPS. So, 20 minus 18 is equals to 18. Dito, nagkaroon ulit tayo ng utang na 18 para ma-fulfill yung committed customer order na yun, since meron nga tayong 20 dito na available to promise from week 4, yun yung gagamitin natin para ma-fulfill natin yung 18 na kakailanganin sa week 7. So, 20 minus 18 is equals to 2. So, kaya 2 yung nandito sa table natin. Dahil ginamit natin yung 18 to fulfill the committed customer order for week 7. ATP 7 is equals to 0, no schedule for MPS. And ATP 8 to get the available to promise for week 8. MPS week 8 minus committed customer order for week 8. So, 20 minus 0 is equals to 20. So, meron tayong available to promise sa week 8 na 20.
Checking the VI plus the 8 NPS weekly quantities equals 110 units and the CCOs plus the ATPs for the 8 periods also equals 110 units. The calculation shows that 13 units of the Model B ATB can be promised for delivery in the first week or later. 2 units can be promised for delivery in the 4th week or later, and another 20 units can be promised for delivery in the 8th week or later. The 8-period total ATP of 35 units is the difference between the sum of the beginning inventory and MP8 110 units and the sum of the committed customer orders 75 unit for the 8-week period. Note that although no MPS has been scheduled for the 7th week, the CCO of 18 units came from the uncommitted MPS quantities of the previous weeks.
So, dito naman sa part ng engine assembly, andito yung gross requirements, yung schedule receipts, project on hand inventory, and the planned order releases. Then we can see do sa table ng engine assembly na yun ay galing sa planned order releases dun sa Model A Level 0. Then makikita sa table na yung gross requirements para sa week 1 ng engine assembly, then yung week 3 at week 6 is may 20. So, sinasabi na directly from Model A Level 0, yung plan order releases sa galing, yun yung magiging gross requirements. And dahil yung planning order factor is 1 unit, katulad ng makikita doon sa table na mayroong times 1 doon sa ibabaw ng week 1, 3, at 6, yun yung nagiging reason kung bakit yung Model A, ATVs, plan order releases ay na-translate into gross requirements for engine assembly in the 1st, 3rd, and 6th week. Then let's go back to the table engine assembly level 1. Yung schedule receipts dyan, may makikitang 20 units. So yung 20 units sa schedule receipt para sa first week ng engine assembly, nakadue siya or nakalaan para dun sa in-order previously. Then next naman is yung gross requirements ng 20 unit each para sa 3rd and 6th weeks. Yun yung nagti-triggered kung bakit nagkaroon ng 18 and 20 units na plan order releases para sa engine assembly. And yung plan order releases ay nakalagay siya 1st and 4th week dun sa table respectively. Ibig sabihin, for the 1st week, kung yung plan order releases mula dun sa gross requirements is 18 units, then para sa 4th week is 20 units. Also, mayroong note din na hindi nire-required yung sa safety stock and the lot of size is LFL. That's the reason kung bakit yung sizes or dami ng order ay magkakaiba doon sa kung ano yung quantity na kailangan doon sa end of period. Para sa inventory, kumbaga, dahil sa walang safety stock na nire-require doon sa assembly na yun, kaya yung order size niya ay nagkakaiba-iba doon sa kung anong quantity na kinakailangan by the end of quantity period nyo. Dito naman sa piston assembly, makikita sa table na yung gross requirement are delivered directly sa plan order releases ng level 1, engine assembly. Kaya't kung babalikan natin yung bill of materials in figure 6.4, doon natin mapapansin na parang yung engine assembly is profit niya lang yung piston assembly. Dahil yung planning factor nila is iisa. Example po para mas malinaw. Sa isang business, kapag napapansin ng owner na malakas ang earnings at nakikilala ito ng mga tao, magtatayo pa siya ng another building or franchise so that mas lumago pa yung business at maging popular siya in business world. So, ganon din yung engine assembly at piston assembly. Though magkaiba sila ng pangalan, pero iisa sila ng pinanggalingan. Dahil yung piston assembly is came from engine assembly. Therefore, makikita sa table na yung gross requirement in piston assembly are 18 and 20 units for the 1st and 4th week. Also note here that inventories must not drop below the safety stock requirement of 10 and order quantities must be made in multiples of 30. So next is level 3 connecting rods. The bill of materials in figure 6.4 indicates that 4 connecting rods are required for each piston assembly. Dito naman sa part ng connecting roads, we can see on the table na yung gross requirements in the third week is may 120 units. Bakit naging 120 units? Kasi sa plan order releases from level 2 piston assembly, mayroon dong 30 units in the third week din. So yung gross requirements in connecting roads ay nanggaling sa plan order releases ng piston assembly, which is yung 30 units. Then iti-times 4 siya, kaya may makikita tayong sa ibabaw ng times 4 sa third weeks. That's why gross requirement came into 120 units. Then sa plan order releases and connecting roads, mapapansin natin na mayroon lamang siyang unit in the second week, which is yung 150 units. Although in gross requirements of the Model A, ATB, mayroon lahat siyang unit for the first to 8 weeks. So paano nangyari yon? It is because of the due to the requirement to offset the lead time in HMRP computation, that also known as loss of visibility. Since there are no lower level components shown for the connecting roads, we can assume that the ATV Corporation purchases this component. Thus, the plan order releases would be used by the purchasing department to communicate order quantities and delivery requirements to its connecting road supplier. Then, in production activity, dito naman makikita or mabibilang yung mga shop floor scheduling, dispatching, routing, and other control activities. Then, sabi dito yung supply chain para makapagbahagi sila ng impormasyon or yung mga plano na isasagawa nila siguro for their business sa kanilang supplier. Ang ginagamit daw nilang form of communication is yung Electronic Data Interchange or EDI. Base din po sa na-research ko, kaya EDI ang ginagamit ng supply chain for communication is because it's efficient and effective. Also, EDI can help reduce lead time, save documentation processing costs, eliminate procurement error, clarify inventory status information, and enhance strategic alliances throughout the supply chains. Sabi pa dito, dahil ang kumpanya ay gumagawa ng sarili nitong piston assembly, sila yung gumagawa. Yung mga nakaplanong impormasyon sa paglabas ng order para sa bahaging iyon ay pinapaalam muna nila sa shop floor operator. At siyang ginagamit to trigger the production in that week. Pagkatapos, yun daw mga nakaplanong paglabas ng order para sa mga binibiling item, yun yung nagiging independent demand gross requirements na kinakailangan para sa mga supplier ng kumpanya. Then, sabi pa dito na ang mabilis na pag-communicate ng impormasyon sa mga strategic supplier ay isang kinakailangan o napakalaking bahaging elemento sa isang epektibong sistema ng impormasyon ng supply chains to make it more efficient and effective. So next is capacity planning. In the context of capacity planning, capacity refers to appearance level and machine resources. So, ito ang dahilan kung bakit nagagawa ng isang organisasyon yung mga output na kumpletuhin o gawin sa takdang panahon. For instance, sa isang kumpanya may umorder sa kanilang products quantity of 1,000. Pero binigyan lamang sila ng 3 araw to make it or to complete the order. So with the help of appearance level and machine resources, magagawa nila lahat yung output sa takdang panahon na binigay sa kanila. That's how it works. Then at the aggregate level, sa isang organisasyon, gumagamit naman sila ng RRP or Resource Requirements Planning. Ito ay isang planning module na kung saan ginagamit nila upang suriin kung yun bang hakbang na isasagawa nila na production plan is worth ba and satisfying para sa pagpapabuti ng kumpanya nila. Typical resources considered at this stage include gross labor hours and machine hours. So generally, yung mga desisyon sa pagpapalawak ng mga kapasidad sa antas na yun ay hindi lang dapat basta-bastang pagdedesisyon ang gagawin dahil maaaring madaming ang involved and committed na rin tulad nga ng mga bagong makina o facilities. So once na hindi mag-click yung production plan, automatic na maraming masasangkot na sa hakbang na gagawin nila. Kaya nga sabi dito kung hindi man matugunan or hindi sigurado yung kasalukuyan yung resource na naaayon sa production plan, then the plan should be revised and para mas okay dapat may may nakahanda tayong Plan B or kahit hanggang Plan Z. In that way, kung hindi man mag-leak, marami pang choices to make it till makuha ang isang possible production plan. RCCP verifies that you have sufficient capacity available to meet the capacity requirements for your master schedules. RCCP is a long-term plan capacity planning tool that marketing and production use to balance required and available capacity, and to negotiate changes to the master schedule and available capacity. You can change your master schedule by changing master schedule dates and increasing or decreasing master schedule quantities. You can change your available capacity by adding or removing shifts, using overtime or subcontracted labor, and adding or removing machines. RCCP is a machine capacity planning technique that does not consider schedule receipts for on-hand inventory quantities when calculating capacity requirements. Your rough-cut capacity plans are therefore a statement of the capacity required to meet your crew's production requirements. So yun lang po yung part ko. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rafael Santos, and here are the topics to be discussed. First is the capacity requirements planning. Second, capacity strategy. Third, distribution requirements planning. Fourth, the legacy material requirements planning systems. And lastly, manufacturing resource planning. First is the capacity requirements planning. It's a short-range capacity planning technique that is used to check the feasibility of the material requirements plan. The time-based material requirements plan is used to compute the detailed capacity requirements for each workstation during specific periods to manufacture the items specified in the MRP. Capacity requirements planning is the process of discerning a firm's production capacity and whether it can meet its production goals. Ito rin na isang critical management tool dahil nakatutulong ito sa isang kumpanya na malaman kung matutugunan nito ang pangangailangan para sa produkto nito. Ito rin ang pangalan ng isang enterprise application software na namamahala sa proseso ng CRP para sa isang kumpanya. Capacity strategy. Capacity expansion or contraction is an integral part of an organization's manufacturing strategy. Effectively balancing capacity with demand is an intricate management decision as it directly affects a firm's competitiveness. Capacity strategy is an approach to increasing and decreasing business capacity to meet demand. Capacity includes things like labor and equipment that can be scaled to increase business output. Some examples of common types of capacity strategy are lead strategy, lag strategy, and match or tracking strategy. Lead capacity strategy is a proactive approach that adds or subtracts capacity in anticipation of future market condition and demand. Lead capacity strategy, an upfront investment in more capacity that you need. This can be done when capacity is inexpensive or difficult to obtain. Ang isang halimbawa ng lead capacity strategy ay inaasahan ng isang bagong ubasan na gumamit ng mas mababa sa 10 hektarya ng lupa sa unang 5 taon nito. Ngunit bumili ng 100 hektarya ng lupa bilang pangmatagalang pamumuhunan sa negosyo. Lag capacity strategy is a recreative approach that adjusts its capacity in response to demand. In favorable market condition, the lag strategy generally does not add capacity until the firm is operating at full capacity. In lag capacity strategy, waiting until your current capacity is stretched to its limits before adding more capacity. For example, a call center with 10 staff that doesn't hire more employees until everyone is working overtime. This may serve to boost efficiency and productivity as current resources are heavily utilized. It tends to result in poor performance such as low response or quality failures. In match or tracking capacity strategy is a moderate strategy that adjusts capacity in small amounts in response to demand and changing market conditions. Match or tracking strategy is adding capacity in small amounts in response to changing demand in the market. This is a more moderate strategy. Adjustment strategy is adding or reducing capacity in small or large amounts due to consumers' demands, or due to major changes to product or system architecture. The third one is distribution requirements planning. It's a time-paced finished goods inventory replenishment plan in distribution network. Distribution requirements planning is a logical extension of MRP system, and its logic is analogous to MRP. So in distribution requirements planning, or DRP, it refers to a planning process that allows you to define some inventory level control parameters, such as security or safety stock, and to calculate inventory requirements over time based on sales forecasts and orders. This process integrates several variables such as product quantity required at start of cycle, maximum product quantity available at start of cycle, recommended order quantity at start of cycle, pending request at end of cycle, inventory available at end of cycle. For optimal operation, the distribution resource planning process requires the collection of different input data such as sales forecast, revenue forecast, inventory at start of cycle, security stock required for cycle. Advantage of the DRP system. Except it extends manufacturing planning and control visibility into the distribution system, DRP also connects current inventory and forecast of fields demand to manufacturing MPS and MRP. DRP can anticipate future requirements in the field, match material supply to demand, match inventory to customer service requirements, increase the speed the firm can react to the marketplace, provide savings by better aggregation of transport and dispatching. The next topic is the legacy material requirements planning systems. For over 4 decades, an MRP system was the first choice among manufacturing firms in the US for planning and managing their purchasing, production, and inventories. To improve the efficiency of the effectiveness of the manufacturing planning and control systems, many manufacturers have utilized electronic data interchange or EDI to relay planned order releases to their suppliers. This information system has worked well for coordinating internal production as well as purchasing. Material Requirements Planning, or MRP, is a standard supply planning system to help businesses, primarily product-based manufacturers, understand inventory requirements while balancing supply and demand. Businesses use MRP systems, which are subsets of supply chain management, to efficiently manage inventory, schedule production, and deliver the right product on time and at optimal cost. How MRP works. An MRP system accelerates the manufacturing production process by determining what raw materials, components, and sub-assemblies are needed, and when to assemble the finished goods based on demand and bill of materials, or BOM. It does this by asking 3 main questions. What is needed? How much is needed? When is it needed by? Why is MRP important? MRP gives business visibility into the inventory requirements needed to meet demand, helping your business optimize inventory levels and production schedules. Without this insight, companies may have limited visibility and responsiveness, which can lead to: una, pag-order ng masyadong maraming inventory na nagpapataas ng mga gastos sa pagdala at pag-uugnay ng mas maraming pera sa overhead ng inventory na maaaring magamit sa ibang lugar. Pangalawa, kawalan ng kakayahan na matugunan ang pangangailangan dahil sa hindi sapat na mga raw materials na nagre-resulta sa pagkawala ng mga benta, mga nakansilang kontrata at out of stocks. Pangatlo, mga pagkagambala sa ikot ng produksyon, pagkaantala sa pagbuo ng sub-assembly na nagre-resulta sa pagtaas ng mga gastos sa production at pagbaba ng output. Manufacturing resource planning. The development of the legacy system can be traced back to the evolution of the MRP system, the closed-loop MRP system, and the manufacturing resource planning, or MRP2 system. The development of closed-loop MRP was a natural extension of the MRP system. Ang Manufacturing Resource Planning or MRP2 ay isang pinagsamang sistema ng impormasyon na ginagamit ng mga negosyo. Ang MRP2 ay umunlad mula sa unang sistema ng Materials Requirements Planning or MRP sa pamamagitan ng pagsasama ng karagdagang data gaya ng mga pangangailangan ng empleyado at pinansyal. Ang sistema ay idinisenyo upang isentrala, isama at iproseso ang mga impormasyon para sa epektibong paggawa ng desisyon sa pag-i-schedule, disenyo ng engineering, pamamahala ng inventory, at kontrol sa gastos sa pagmamanufaktura. Parehong MRP at MRP2 ang nakikita bilang mga nauna sa Enterprise Resource Planning or ERP na isang proseso kung saan ang isang kumpanya, kadalasang isang manufacturer, ay namamahala at nagsasama ng mga mahalagang bahagi ng negosyo nito. Ang isang sistema ng impormasyon sa pamamahala ng ERP ay nagsasama ng mga lugar tulad ng pagpaplano, pagbili, inventory, pagbebenta, marketing, finance at human resources. Ang ERP ay pinakamadalas na ginagamit sa konteksto na software na may maraming malalaking application na binuo upang matulungan ang mga kumpanya na ipatupad ang ERP. MRP2 is an extension of the original Materials Requirements Planning or MRP1 system. Material Requirements Planning is one of the first software-based integrated information system designed to improve productivity for businesses.
ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. Let's take a look at all the processes that are essential to running a growing business. Number 1, inventory, order management, accounting, human resource, and customer relationship management. ERP software provides all various functions and integrates them into one complete system. The end result? Streamlined businesses, processes, and informations, increased efficiencies, and improved collaborations across the entire organization. The central features of all ERP systems is a shared database that supports multiple functions used by different groups within a company. This means that employees in accounting and sales, for example, can rely on the same information for their specific needs, enabling businesses to make better decisions faster and encouraging continued growth. What are enterprise resource planning modules? An ERP system automates business processes and serves as a shared database for cross-organizational, financial, and operational information. The ERP solutions pull this data from a number of system modules to the individual functions of various departments. Common ERP modules supports back and front-end functions like finance and accounting, procurement, manufacturing, inventory management, order management, warehouse management, supply chain management, customer relationship management, procurement, and workforce management. More functionally rich solutions may also include professional service automation, human resource, e-commerce, and marketing automations. With this modular design, an ERP solution is able to meet the shifting needs of a company, starting with the most relevant modules for the business and adding more modules to address new business needs. Each module plugs into the ERP system, so the solution provides a single source of data even as the business continues to grow and add more modules. Centralizing those modules
under one ERP solution enables company to automate more business process, making employees more productive by reducing manual tasks and errors, minimizing issues around data accuracy and consistency, and ensuring everyone in the company can access the same information to drive better decision making.
Advantage and disadvantage of enterprise resource planning systems. When properly installed and operating, an ERP system can provide a firm and supply chain partners with a significant competitive advantage, which can fully justify the investment of time and money in ERP. A fully functional ERP system is capable of enhancing the firm's capability to fully utilize capacity, accurately schedule production, reduce inventory, meet delivery due dates, and enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of the supply chain. Let us look at some specific advantage and disadvantage. Ang isang fully functional na ERP system ay may kakayahang pahusayin ang isang kumpanya upang gamitin ang mga kapasidad, tumpak na mga mag-schedule ng produksyon, pag-inventory, matugunan ang mga takdang petsa ng paghahatid at pahusayin kung paano makakaapekto ang supply chain. Enterprise Resource Planning System Advantage. As mentioned earlier, the primary advantage of ERP over the legacy MRP system is that ERP uses a single database in the common software infrastructure to provide a broader scope and up-to-date information, enabling management to make better decisions that can benefit entire supply chain. ERP is also fairly robust in providing real-time information and thus is able to communicate information about operational changes to supply chain members with little delay. ERP systems are also designed to take advantage of internet technology. Thus, users are able to access the system via the internet. Gaya ng nabanggit kanina, ang pangunahing advantage ng ERP sa mga legacy na MRP system ay gumagamit ng isang database at isang karaniwang infrastruktura ng software upang magbigay ng mas malawak na saklaw at mga napapanahonang impormasyon na nagbibigay daan sa pamamahala na gumawa ng mas mahusay na mga desisyon na maaaring makinabang sa buong supply chain. Ang ERP ay nagbibigay ng impormasyon tungkol sa mga pagbabago sa pagpapatakbo at sa mga miyembro ng isang supply chain na may kaunting pagkaantala. Ang mga sistema ng ERP ay idinisenyo din upang samantalahin ang teknolohiya ng internet. Kaya na-access ng mga user ang system sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng internet. ERP help organizations reduce supply chain inventories due to the added visibility throughout the entire supply chain. It enables the supply, manufacturing, and logistic processes to flow smoothly by providing visibility of the order fulfillment process throughout the supply chain. Supply chain visibility leads to reductions of the bullwhip effects and helps supply chain members to better plan production and in-product deliveries to customers. ERP systems also help organizations to standardize manufacturing processes. Manufacturing firms often find that multiple business units across the company make the same product using different processes and information systems. ERP systems enable the firm to automate some of the steps of a manufacturing process. Process standardization eliminates redundant resource and increased productivity. Tulungan ng ERP ang mga organisasyon na bawasan ang mga inventaryo ng supply chain dahil sa karagdagang visibility sa buong supply chain. Nagbibigay daan din ito sa mga proseso ng supply, pagmamanupaktura at logistic na dumaloy na maayos sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng visibility ng proseso ng pagtupad ng order sa buong supply chain. Ang visibility ng supply chain ay humahantong sa pagbabawas ng bullwhip effect at tumutulong sa mga miyembro ng supply chain na mas mahusay na magplano ng produksyon at paghahatid ng mga end product sa mga customer. Tinutulungan din ng mga ERP system ang mga organisasyon na i-standardize ang mga proseso ng pagmamanupaktura. Ang mga kumpanya na pagmamanupaktura ay madalas na nalalaman na maaring mga unit ng negosyo sa buong kumpanya. ang gumagawa ng parehong produkto gamit ang iba't ibang mga proseso at sistema ng impormasyon. Ang mga sistema ng ERP ay nagbibigay daan sa kumpanya na i-automate ang ilan sa mga hakbang ng isang proseso ng pagmamanupaktura. Tinatanggal ng standardization ng proseso ang mga labis na mapagkukunan at pinatataas ang produktibidad. E-Business Connection Cloud Computing takes on ERP. The Software as a Service or SaaS model is well established in some enterprise software markets. Under the SaaS model, users pay a subscription, either monthly or yearly, to access application hosted in the vendor's data center because users are accessing remote applications. This model is also referred to as a cloud computing. All SaaS vendors concede that their ultimate success in the market depends on their ability to overcome some critical challenges, such as making it easier for their application to integrate with all the application companies currently rely to run their businesses, and delivering solutions that can be easily configured to support any company's unique business processes. Ang modelo ng Software as a Service or tinatawag na SaaS ay mahuhusay na itinatatag sa ilang mga enterprise software market. Sa ilalim ng modelong SaaS, nagbabayad ang mga user ng subscription, buwanan man o taon-taon, para ma-access ang application na naka-host sa data center ng vendor. Dahil ang mga user ay nag-a-access ng mga malalayong aplikasyon, ang modelong ito ay tinutukoy din bilang cloud computing. Ang lahat ng mga vendor ng SaaS ay umaamin na ang kanilang sukdulang tagumpay sa merkado ay nakasalalay sa kanilang kakayahan na malampasan ng ilang critical na hamon, tulad ng pagpapadali para sa kanilang mga application na isama sa lahat ng mga application na kasulukuyang umaasa ang mga kumpanya upang patakbuhin ang kanilang mga negosyo, at paghahatid ng mga solusyon na madaling i-configure upang suportahan ang mga natatanging proseso ng negosyo ng anumang kumpanya.
Enterprise Resource Planning System Disadvantages. While the benefits of ERP systems can be impressive, ERP is not without shortcomings. For example, a substantial capital investment is needed to purchase and implement the system. Considerable time and money must be set aside to evaluate ERP software applications, to purchase the necessary hardware and software, and then to train employees to operate the new system. Total cost of ERP ownership includes hardware, software, professional services, training, and other internal staff costs. ERP systems are very complex and have proven difficult to implement, particularly in large multi-business unit organizations. However, the primary criticism of ERP is that the software is designed around a specific business model based on specific business processes. Although business processes are usually adopted based on best practices in the industry, the adopting firm must change its business model and associated processes to fit the built-in business model designed into the ERP system. Thus, as mentioned earlier, the adopting firm must restructure its processes to be compatible with the new ERP system. This has resulted in a very unusual situation where a software system determines the business practices and processes a firm should implement, instead of designing the software to support existing business practices and processes. Despite the widespread adoption of costly ERP systems by large firms since the Y2K scramble, many implementation challenges remain unsolved, and scores of ERP systems today are grossly underutilized. Intricate business processes re-engineering challenges arise when business processes are adapted to the software. Consequently, firms struggle to justify their investment and find ways to better utilize their ERP systems. This raises the question of whether large firms can effectively manage their operations and supply chain activities without sophisticated information technology. The Global Perspective picture describes Kennametal's problems with their ERP system. As mentioned earlier, ERP is costly. Ito ay investment hindi lang ng money kundi pati na rin ng time. Dahil kailangan ng company ng continuous training ng employees para ma-maintain ang system, it is also complex in terms of data conversion dahil developing a solid data conversion strategy can be difficult. Ang data sources ay dapat ma-define, examine, and analyze. Bad data conversion will cause delays and increase costs even more. Ilan sa mga major industries na gumagamit ng ERP ay ang manufacturing, distribution, professional services, construction, industrial services, service business, healthcare, and more. Remember, ERP software is like any business technology. The tool on its own doesn't cause failure or success. Ang business environment, leadership, and end users ang magdedetermine ng ROI ng ERP system, along with the project planning, methodology, and implementation. In conclusion, it is essential to analyze whether the ERP system that will be implemented sa isang company ay right for its needs. Also, keep in mind that a bad strategy implementation can lead to failure of the same. Enterprise Resource Planning Software Applications. ERP systems typically consist of many modules that are linked together to access and share a common database. Each module performs different functions within the organization and is designed so that it can be installed on its own or with a combination of other modules. Most ERP software providers design their products to be compatible with their competitors' products so that modules from different providers can be combined. Integration of customer relationship management, supplier relationship management, and e-procurement modules into the ERP system is now becoming relatively commonplace. Although each ERP software provider configures its products differently from its competitors, some common modules of ERP systems are described here. Accounting and finance, customer relationship management, human resource management, manufacturing, supplier relationship management, supply chain management. Let me discuss these modules furthermore. First is accounting and finance. Isa ito sa most essential or important ERP module because it allows businesses to understand their current financial state. Ina-assist nito ang organization sa pag-maintain ng financial control and accountability. It tracks accounting and financial information such as revenues, costs, assets, liabilities, and other accounting and financial information of the company. It is also capable of generating routine and advanced accounting and financial reports, product costing, budgeting, and analysis. Ito ang nag-create at nagsusstore ng crucial financial documents tulad ng balance sheets, payment receipts, and tax statements. Next is customer relationship management. Ito ay isa sa most widely subscribed ERP system modules. Dito sa module na ito nakastore ang lahat ng customer and prospect information. It is a great support to organizations and enable team members to give quality service to loyal customers. It allows sales or marketing professionals to develop a better relationship with clients by giving them personalized attention. While the human resource management module naman ng ERP system ay tumutulong sa pag-maintain ng comprehensive database sa lahat ng employees. This module enables managers to have complete employee data at their fingertips, making sure that the right person is put on the right job. It handles all activities from salary slip generation to disbursement, payroll management, and etc. Moving on to manufacturing module, which is required by all the manufacturing companies in their ERP system. Ito ang nag-handle ng flow of engineering at all stages at nag-ensure ng material management, quality control, and expenditures. Ito rin ang nagsisigurado na ang lahat ng resources ay well utilized at ang manufacturing capacity ng organization ay nagpa-function in an optimal manner. Next is the supplier relationship management module. This allows the firm to manage its suppliers. It automates processes and enables the firm to function more effectively. Ito rin ang nagmo-monitor ng supplier performance at nagtra-track ng deliveries ng purchased goods. Ito ang nag-enable sa user na ma-manage effectively ang business processes sa pamamagitan ng real-time collaboration during design, production at distribution planning with suppliers. Lastly, the supply chain management module. Ito ang most popular ERP system module. Ito ang nag-ensure na may enough inventory stock para walang shortage during production process. Tinutulungan nito ang organization na i-handle ang entire flow of materials mula sa manufacturer to retailer hanggang sa final customer. ERP systems have continued to evolve in the 21st century. One of the latest developments is the integration of e-business capabilities to use the internet to conduct business transactions such as sales, purchasing, inventory management, and customer service. Customers and suppliers are demanding access to certain information, such as order status, inventory levels, and invoice reconciliation through the ERP system. As information technology continues to become more sophisticated, ERP software providers continue to add new functions and capabilities to their systems. Enterprise resource planning software providers. There are hundreds of ERP software providers, each targeting a specific market segment and industry type. Thus, choosing an appropriate ERP software package can be very challenging. SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, and BAN have been among the most popular ERP providers. However, there was a series of mergers and acquisitions in the maturing ERP industry in early 2000s. In 2003, JD Edwards was acquired by PeopleSoft, which was subsequently purchased by the database giant Oracle in 2005. BAN was sold to Invensys in 2000, but was later acquired by SSA Global Technologies in 2003. In 2006, Infor Global Solutions bought SSA Global Technologies. While Microsoft Corporation is the world's largest software company, SAP is the largest ERP provider, followed by Oracle in terms of market share. While Oracle has focused on aggressively acquiring other ERP vendors to broaden its product line, the German-based SAP has adopted an internal software development strategy to expand the functionality of its products. Microsoft has also gained a foothold in the ERP market with its purchase of Great Plains in 2001 and Navision in 2002. In addition to the mainstream ERP software systems, there are also many specialized companies in the business of producing add-on software to provide specific functions or interact with pre-existing legacy systems. SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, and BAN were some ERP software providers mentioned above. Selection of the best ERP software plays a vital role to grow the organization. As I've said earlier, the organization needs to choose an ERP system that is right for its needs. A company can compare several ERP providers. It should also consider some factors like cost, functionality and ease of use, industry expertise, implementation, and more. That ends our presentation. Thank you.